Hello and welcome to the Mindful Show here at Pamoja Radio. My name is Ashley Kendi Marcelina, and it's currently an election year here at the Republic of Kenya. With each year of elections, there are certain uncertainties on the law and procedures governing elections. This is usually more so for those who may either be contesting for a political seat or supporting those who are. Many people tend to take elections as just a one-day event as opposed to the entire process. An election is a process and a journey that begins at the party primaries and concludes at the final announcement of the elected representative. Whether a political aspirant, candidate, or voter, you need to pay close attention to the events that happen before the actual voting day, as those said events can actually have an impact in determining whether or not an election was actually free and fair. You see, most participants and candidates only begin the process of evidence collection on the voting day as opposed to monitoring the process from the beginning. We therefore get to look at how it begins, from the process of nominations and the legal requirements by the political parties for the candidates themselves. Today, we dig in and we focus on the 2022 UDA nominations, which happened on the 14th of April. Were the nominations fair, or was the system rigged to favor certain political aspirants? Well, we had the opportunity to speak to Evans Njanja, a political analyst, and this is what he had to say in regards to the state of fairness of party nominations in Kenya, the legal requirements for the candidates during nominations, and other options that a candidate who has lost has during the nomination.
Yes, my name is Evans Jaja, and I'm a political analyst, and also, I engage in matters policy. And speaking about the nominations in Kenya during these elections, about the fairness and the aspect of, just seeing credibility. First and foremost, I don't think there was an 100% aspect of fairness, because the political parties belong to people and they call the shots. So because we had a lot of grievances from, especially you have a party which did the nominations using the tablets, the digital way, and the aggrieved parties said that they were hacked beforehand, they had been programmed. Then on this other side, for universal suffrage, I believe, it doesn't miss a few mishaps here and there. So there was also a bit of complaining, but the good thing is the parties had the internal dispute resolutions tribunals, yes, and from that, which were the ones that were escalated to the ones that the tribunal, the court said were very few. So we can say there was some bit of fairness, though if I was to gauge a percentage, not more than 70%. And we had some requirements for even these aspirants as they learn for these offices. For instance, there's the basic ones that they needed, and different parties, nowadays they put it as a requirement. Chapter 6 of our constitution, the leadership and integrity part. So they needed a clearance from the EACC, the Anti-Corruption Commission. They need a police clearance, so that from the Department of Criminal Investigation, to ensure these are people who don't have any criminal records or are charged with things. Then also they needed the CRB clearance. This one is very key, because if you are in debt, it is one of the requirements. If you're in debt, you should not vie. So that was one. Then there's academic credentials, very important, especially for the president and the gubernatorial aspirants, whereby they needed to present a degree, a credible degree from an accredited institution. These other seats, these other positions, we know the requirements, the one for member of parliament and even the MCA. You need to be someone who understands written language, and you can even articulate yourself, so the English and Swahili. Then the candidates who felt aggrieved, they had very many options. And when you lose a nomination, you can go to the tribunal if you feel aggrieved, but also you have a chance to stick to your party and apply for the nomination seats. Now, after elections, there are the special seats for women, youth, and people living with disability. Then the other option is you can decide to go and run as an independent. So we had very many, like this time loud, we have the most independent candidates running in an election. So we have very many people who opted to go the independent way. But the challenge with that, as well, it comes with a financial implication, because you are on your own. You need to do a lot of campaigning, unlike when you're in a party whereby you have the machinery. Then the other thing, this time loud, the constitution, the law, the president ascended to allowed February the Political Parties Amendment Act of 2021 there. It stipulates that there is no party hopping. So this time loud, there was no party hopping. So you lose, you either go independent or you stay there. But we've seen it, we're actually looking forward to see how they will perform, especially these independent candidates. Thank you very much.
Any person who seeks nomination would submit all the nomination papers and relevant qualifications to the returning officer, who will in turn issue a nomination certificate upon being satisfied of the applicant's suitability to contest for the elections. This is a requirement under Regulation 51 of the Elections Regulation 2012. Each political party is required by the law to submit its nomination rules and procedures to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission at least 6 months before the nomination of candidates. These rules and regulations must be sufficiently published and publicized to all the members of the political party. The rules and procedures must also take care of the needs of the persons who live with disabilities. The nomination rules and procedures must have the following key content. 1. They must provide for the procedure to be adopted in preparation of the party list for persons who will stand in elections for every electoral area. 2. They must provide an internal dispute resolution system that will be the first point of call for resolution of any dispute regarding the nomination process. Any dispute regarding party primaries and nominations must go through the following processes in this order. 1. The party's internal dispute resolution mechanism, IDRM, the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal, PPDT, the High Court. To this end, regardless of the urgency and nature of the grievance, everyone who needs redress must first start at the party's internal process before approaching PPDT and finally the High Court. The tribunal and the High Court, once presented with a dispute, will undertake an exercise of determination of whether or not the nominated candidate secured enough votes to be nominated. This is often a statistical exercise. An aggrieved person will thus need to produce enough evidence showing that the nominated person did not actually gain the majority of the vote to secure a nomination. At the High Court, an aggrieved person will need to demonstrate that he or she challenged the decision of the IEBC. Now, with all that said, let us focus on the UDA party nominations, which happened on the 14th of April 2022. We had a chance to speak to Emmanuel Maundu, former MCA aspirant, who had the following to say in regards to his experience during the UDA party nominations.
Emmanuel Maundu is my name, and I was vying for an MCA seat here at Harambee Ward, Nairobi County. And just reflecting and maybe in retrospect about the nomination process, thinking about it, I believe the party did its best, though obviously there has to be gaps. and from the aspirants, and I don't think there was any form of fairness, because people played some games, which in turn obviously affected the whole process. So in my opinion, will I term the process fair? I don't think so. Then what really happened is, we had this, we have the new law about using the political party register, which was not there. So when we got to the polling station, and we found there was a register, the IBC 2017 register, which was being used. So for me, that was something that raised a few eyebrows. And sometimes what do? You accept and move on. And so I have some reservations about the aspect of fairness, because I believe it was, have you ever thought of maybe a planned confusion whereby they already know what they want to do, but they are acting as if they're doing the right thing? So yes, from the aspirants aspect, yes, we had our own part to play, but also the party itself, we had a lot of gaps. So we didn't follow the law. That's what I can say. The law was not followed. So then, was I qualified about the whole process? I did my due diligence. I got all the clearances that I needed, though it was a bit hectic because the rush, it's like a rush hour. Everyone is out there at the EACC trying to get a clearance, the police clearance as well. Actually, at that time, I remember it was taking almost a whole month for you to get a slot. So what I actually did, I went to another county, I booked, I paid, then I went to Machakos to get my fingerprints from there, so that, because at least I got one weekend, so it was nearer than using the ones in Nairobi, which were taking almost a whole month. Then on the campaigns, I can say that for me, since I was a first timer, it was my first time, there were very many things that I didn't know. So most of the resources actually went to printing of posters, banners, and also just maneuvering around, moving from one place to another, meetings. Sometimes I had some meetings with some leaders of different organized groups, and obviously when you meet them, you have to pay for that tea, if it's tea and if it's lunch. But there's one interesting thing that happened. There's a day I had a meeting with some people who actually they're the ones who called me for that meeting, but one of the ladies said, sasa ujue atuamkangi bure, kuamka kikalia kiti ni bure, kuamka si bure. So but the good thing for me, I can say the people around me supported my campaign. So I had a till number that I was using, so people could send something, as they say, haba na haba ujaza kibaba. So at least I had something to use. I didn't go back to my pocket to use my resources, but the one like I had planned for, I used that, inclusive of these other resources that people helped me to pull together. Then I did not consider going as an independent candidate, because, as I've said earlier, it was my first time, and I just wanted to learn things, and currently I'm still learning and how parties operate. And once you decide to go with this party, the pros, the cons. So I believe I still have another chance to try out again next time. But I was thinking to myself that if I'm gonna go independent, I'll do that from the onset. So that's why I did not go for the independent ticket, because also of the resources, and also I was tired. This thing is tiresome. It's really tiresome. When you go out there for campaigns, you talk to each and every person, especially when you're a new person. For the people who've been here, it's easy because people know them and people compare you to them. So people will be like, tuambie nini tofauti utafanya na so and so. So for me, it was really, really draining. And to some extent, I felt like, it was like a sigh of relief, losing that nomination, because I'm like, wow, was I even ready for the next part? Because if this is just for the nomination, what about the main the main thing, that is the election. So there was that aspect also of fatigue and, you know, trying to juggle things, also being a student, so being in school, trying to do your own things, studying. Actually, at that point I was doing my practicum, I was doing my internship, so trying to juggle, you know, you're here practicing, you're counseling, you're out here also talking to people. Then, you know, it wasn't easy. And there's also one thing that someone told me during the campaigns, that is, the moment you've decided to vie for a political office, you've decided to carry all the burdens of the people. So you can imagine all the troubles that you have, your personal chaos. Now imagine adding more to that. So, you know, it wasn't quite easy, but it was a worthy run, and I can say I'm grateful to the people who supported me, to all the young people. And for me, I believe change comes, you know, one person at a time. So the few young people I reached out to, even not only the young people, even the old people, just to bring a different perspective of leadership and how we need to hold these people accountable, gave me a decent run. So I'm really grateful for that chance, and I will vie again.
Well, you've had it from them. That's all that we had for you here at The Mindful Show. My name is Ashley Kendi Marcelina. Ensure to keep it Pamoja Radio.